Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on October 20th, 2024 at approximately 4:30 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies that I use to guide virtually every movement I make. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal efforts. Now, to start with, we have Storm in the house here. He is one of our primary moderators, if not the primary, but he's the one to make sure all the tech keeps running and make sure that problem children are removed before they become a problem. Now, do not get me wrong. I've got very simple guidelines out there, okay, and they're all listed at the top of the chat room, but the three primary ones are easy. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. Okay, now as long as you're following all three of those at once, you don't have a big problem to worry about. If you decide you're going to cause a problem, well, that's where the moderators come in. Okay, now we also have LA Moon in the back, in the house here. She's the one that really keeps an eye on whether my physical health keeps going properly. And the nice part about this, in my eyes, is we're climbing again. We are up to 641 today. Now, this is going to fluctuate back and forth. Okay, but today we're going to look at the difference between changing dimensions and altering your vibrational rate. Understand, now I've heard lots of different things about dimensions, okay, and about how many there are, how they all work, etc., etc. Now, the reality of it from my standpoint is this. I don't study them, okay, like I have not read up on all the different ideas. What I do know is that the concept of raising to a higher dimension, the earth is getting ready to move into the fifth dimension. No, it's not. Okay, now, I do not debate that earth is changing and society is altering. But let us be clear. From everything I've come to understand, okay, and again, I work on life experience. It's just my life runs decades longer. Well, decades. My life runs centuries longer because I don't pay much attention to my corporeal form. Renee, you are in with the gold. How you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, there's a lot of controversy out there, and I think a lot of the problem is the understanding of what it is. Okay, now when we look at dimensions, everything you can sense in the third dimension, that you can sense in this lifetime, in this reality, is three-dimensional. Okay, understand this neat little sheet of paper. You're told it is only like this is a two-dimensional drawing. Drawing. The writing on it, don't expect you to read it, but the writing on it, okay, is they tell you it's two-dimensional because it's just on paper. They don't tell you that it's actually three-dimensional. It's just the ink is a very small height dimension. Rachel, you are in with the silver. How you doing? Glad you could join us. So much as you're told, drawing on a sheet of paper is a two-dimensional drawing, the reality is it's three-dimensional. Okay? Now, when we talk about anything in the third dimension, okay, and hear me out on this, I'm going to throw something out here that's just a little twisted. But when we look at the third dimension, Nothing exists in this dimension that is not third dimensional. Okay, the reality of what you're looking at is it's all third dimensional. We are not moving into a fourth dimension. Somebody came to the idea, we're third dimensional and we're jumping to the fifth. Not going to happen. Okay, now here's where I said I was going to go a little sideways on you. Okay, now these books, the Elderwockian Chronicles, yes, 10, 11, and 12, which are technically 1, 2, and 3 that are coming out. That's book 10. In the overall series, it's book 1. Well, no, my apologies. Book 10 in the overall series. But it's the first book that came out. But here's the thing. With the Elderwockian Chronicles, first 3 books are built post-apocalyptic. But when we get into book 1, into the beginning of it, I will be covering the whole 9 yards of, I even touch on it in these, of soulmates, of soul families, of twin flames, of the whole 9 yards of dimensional travel and maneuverability. When you come to this world, okay, when you come to this existence, you're coming in to the third dimension. But you break apart into uncounted parts, okay, to gather as much information in the third dimension as you can. As it scatters, as your soul scatters, what happens is you're drawn back together. You're drawn to find yourself. Once all your bits and pieces from all over the third dimension, okay, are brought back together, at that point, you return to the overall hub. From the hub, you can now access any one of the other 12 of the other 11 dimensions, doing the same thing. Eventually, you will come back to the hub and be able to move back to before, to another, and I don't even know how to put this, but to the life before this reality came to be. Okay, now, I know this is probably sounding a little screwy. What's going to make a whole lot more sense is the idea of vibration. And again, guys, if you've got questions, and I'm sure you will, when you've got questions, absolutely pipe up, put them in the chat room, okay, put them in all caps so I can actually see them. Okay, as we do that, what you'll find happen, you ask the question, I will do my best to give you a straightforward answer. Any of the books we talk about, any of the consulting that I do, and yes, I am still doing it. Okay, all of that, if you go to the link at the top of the page, the buymeacoffee.com/innervoicej, okay, you'll find all of the access to pricing, the whole 9 yards, all listed there. Now, when we look at dimensions that I'm aware of, there are 12, okay? Just 12 dimensions, not 584,000 or however many somebody wants to come up with. Okay, there's a dozen that I've run here that I've come to understand. Now, maybe there are more. I am not perfect. I just know what I know. Okay, it's that simple. But when we start talking in vibratory rate, that's a whole other ballgame. And that one is provable in this world. We've already got the technology. Now, the thing is, when you're looking at vibratory rate, if matter moves at the same at a matched vibration, it's solid. Okay, it's solid. You cannot pass through it. At that point, yeah, if you're moving fast enough, the stronger item will punch a hole in the weaker one. But vibration wise, what we've got is the atoms are moving at the same speed, so they can't get by each other. Now, when we talk about increasing your vibratory rate, the easiest way to explain it is this. Take your hand, just look at it. It's stable, there's no problem. But you move it fast, it becomes harder to track. Okay? In my case, I literally see both the shock wave ahead of it and the echo behind it. But when you take a look at your hand and you watch it and you move it fast, okay, it all of a sudden seems to disappear from one location and show up at the other. Now, my reactions are not fast enough to make it really disappear that well. But take a look at a plane propeller or a helicopter propeller or a fan. When they start to move, you can see the individual blades very easily. Okay, it's once they pick up that vibration, once they are moving fast enough that you start being incapable of seeing them. Okay, so it becomes a blur, and sooner or later, if you increase the cyclic rate fast enough, the item will disappear altogether. Now, that becomes an interesting setup. When we look at it, the Philadelphia experiment did just that. It increased the vibratory rate of all of the molecules of all of the people to the point where they went out of sync. Needless to say, they're standing on the deck of a ship, and they vibrated through it. When we end up with the ship changing vibratory rate, the people fell through the deck. It was only for a split second. So all of a sudden they're caught halfway in the bulkheads where their molecules literally merged. Okay, and that's where the biggest problem was. This is why so many of them ended up dying, and so quickly, why the Philadelphia experiment got completely mothballed. They didn't know how to maintain the energy flow long enough to avoid another mishap. Definitely my condolences to any of the people left behind, including the ones that didn't get caught in it, because the ones that were responsible undoubtedly had some pretty serious problems coping with the mess at the same time. Just think how you'd feel if you were responsible for that many deaths simply because of a mathematical miscalculation. Now, when we take a look at the vibratory rate, okay, and the whole concept of prolonged vibratory rate, understand a human vibrates at a certain level. Okay, with that in mind, that's the level it's used to. And what happens, have you ever walked through a mall and noticed people kind of weaving in and out through an empty hallway? Okay, you may think that they're drunk or maybe high, but here's the kicker. If you take a look at their behavior, it's perfectly normal aside from the weave. And the reason for that is because the weave itself is because they're seeing people vibrating at a higher level. Okay, and with that, they're able to see them. Of course, they look solid enough, so you start walking between them. And of course, you may see that happening quite regularly. I know I do. And it really boils down to being aware that the speed something vibrates at dictates whether or not you're going to see it. If you're not seeing it, you're going to have a problem relating to it. Now, hopefully this is making sense. See, we gotta take a look at the other aspect of vibration. Okay, the other aspect of vibration is that when you're looking at this, the vibration is literally what you're seeing, but the faster it moves, the more likely it is to flow between. And of course, we have four, not three, four levels of energy vibration. You've got energy itself, which is at the highest vibratory rate. Then it slows down a little and becomes gas. Okay, where again it flows. Now you'll notice energy, none of it can be none of it can be destroyed. Energy is energy. All it does is get converted. So you slow the energy level down a little, and now you have gas. Hence why we have oxygen that we can walk through. Okay, why it is that you have sun coming down that we can feel, because it is energy, but it passes through the gases and gets right to the ground and right to us. Okay, now once you slow it down a little more from the gas side, it becomes liquid. It condenses into liquid. Now, I don't know all the chemical compounds, okay, but if you take a look at H2O, okay, which is water, you start off with oxygen and hydrogen, both of which are gases. They combine with a whole pile of other things to make breathable air. Not the least of which, as far as I'm aware, is argon, and there's a few other ones. I do know argon is one of them. But when the gas slows down, it condenses. H2O, aka hydrogen, two components. Yeah, two molecules of two atoms of hydrogen, one of oxygen. I believe that's the way that works. Chemistry didn't do. I was only there for a couple months, but when the hydrogen and oxygen slow down enough, they connect together and become water. Okay. Now, again, gas will travel through water. This is why I know in my house, in my apartment, the chlorine content of the water supply is way too high. Okay, but chlorine is a gas, and when you leave it sit, it will work its way up out of the oxygen. Then we slow the water down a little more, and now we have solid. Okay, you go from liquid to solid, and now we've got your solid, liquid, gas, and energy. All matter in the third dimension has these four variations. Okay, some people talk about quasi-elemental things. Okay, and much as they exist, they are still either liquid, solid, energy, or gas. Not in that order, obviously. But when you take a look at the speed things are vibrating, when they move fast enough, they will pass right through each other and never cause a problem. Okay, this is one of the ways that a starship can come through a galaxy without destroying it. Okay, because they vibrate to the point that they don't affect the same vibratory rate. Okay, one of the things we got to look at here is people talk about they're going to another dimension. Here's the thing: you vibrate fast enough, you're going to disappear from sight. This is going to look as though you went to another dimension because you're no longer visible in this one. The reality of it is, from my experience, is that you're simply in the same place, just moving too fast for the eye to see. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, one of the other things we got to look at, if you vibrate something fast enough, you can mesh it together. Doesn't matter the size of the object. Okay, but you got to remember, it's like putting a square peg into a round hole. If it isn't the right dimension, it's not going. Okay, and yeah, you take a round tube and you take a square lock and you vibrate it, you can get it locked in, because what'll happen is the majority of it will be free, but where it overlaps, all of a sudden you've got to merge. To see this in action, honestly, going to the old computer program Paint. Okay, when you paint over top of an area, it all of a sudden replaces the other pixels. These are just different vibratory rates of things. Neat part about it is the reason that different molecules take on a different color is because of the vibratory rate of them and the way light refracts off them. No, I'm not getting into the scientific side of that. I can tell you what it is, but can I prove to you the mathematics? Not a prayer. That's somebody else's department. Okay, one of the things we have to realize is that the terminology is not the critical factor. And this is why I say, my looking at things and going, no, we are not talking about dimension. We are talking about vibratory rate. Because the 12 dimensions, only things in the third and that have only 3 dimensions can be perceived in the third dimension. Okay, and of course somebody out there is going to be looking at this and going, no, that's not the way it works. You're wrong. Maybe I am, but it's worked so far for me from that standpoint. I'm still looking into the way things shift. One of the neat things that I look at is, the gift of people in this dimension. We ask questions. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Okay, the same applies as we're striving to figure out the dimensional interaction or the vibratory rate of things. But like I said, I wonder if this will reach. I don't think so. Yep. If we take a look at that, now you can see the blades, sort of. Let's see. Okay, and we let that stop. Now you can see it's got 3 blades, but movement, vibration, we pick it up a bit, and you can't see the individual blades anymore. Okay, that's just simply the way it works. This is why I say it's absolutely imperative that people look to the vibratory rate to see what's going on. Where am I? This. Should grab that before I forget. Don't forget that neat little problem mine. Get an idea in my head, and I gotta get things organized so I don't lose track of them. This happens to be my neat little box for passwords and what have you. Avoids the whole problem of having things disappear on me. Well, more to the point, it solves the problem of people being even to possibly hack my computer to get passwords and what have you, unless you're really good at it, and then there's nothing I can do about it anyway. Okay, but there it is. When we take a look at things, okay, if when we are talking about raising your vibration, there is another reference point to that. When you increase your understanding, okay, ultimately you're setting yourself up to remember more, to see more, and frankly to comprehend more. Now, I look at it this way. When you're striving to understand something, the first thing you gotta piece together is whether or not you actually have a working model. I am wondering about a few things. Okay, like I'm looking at what's going on here. And the thing we have to remember is that when you desire your life to change, the whole catch, in case you hadn't noticed, and it's kind of like aerodynamics. The more of the junk, the more of the clutter you no longer hang on to, the less drag you have, and the less time it's going to take to get things to happen in a positive fashion. It boils down to lower weight, higher vibratory rate, or more to the point, higher vibratory capacity. You know, this is just where we're standing now. Did I miss something here? We have Renee was in with gold, Rachel in with silver, and that is the way it stands. Now, what I'm looking at is how do we take the negative vibration, because every time you run into something that is bad or something that hurts, your vibratory rate slows down. As you take on too much stuff, okay, too many worries, too many projects, too many unfinished things. All of this will slow your vibratory rate down because all of it causes stress. Okay. And as we start to get the clutter gone, you'll find you start feeling lighter, more energy, more focus, net result, more prosperity. Now, of course, the real question is this something you're interested in? As in a better way of life in your eyes. Oh, well, ain't that new? Maybe not. Now, one of the neat little things. Whoa, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I do trust the little munchkin's doing well. When we start looking at vibration, you want to get an idea how bad vibration can get for you. Take one loose bolt in an engine, okay, especially in the mountings, and you set up the vibration, it will eventually drop that bolt out. And I'll tell you, drop the bolt out of the engine, you're in trouble. What do we got here? I'm driving home now. Not even 5 minutes ago, a short white lady with red hair and not even 5 foot with an armful of groceries walks out in the middle of the road in front of my car yelling, "Hit me." Will goes, crazy people, what the heck is wrong with folks? Hey, and Will goes, I'm good, I'm good people. I'm good. People are just insane. The funny thing from that there, and yeah, I do agree, LA. LA's going, it must have scared the crap out of you. I've hit a pedestrian. I know what it feels like to see them all of a sudden there. But there we are. See, the funny part about it there, Woo, as far as what's wrong with people, in a nutshell, and this applies to everybody out there, We are taught to look for instant gratification, and you don't have to do anything to get in better shape. Okay, and of course, with these neat little things, so many people are getting distracted by them. Gotta take a look at that again later. Okay, what we are looking at is a society that is completely lost on its path for all the training that's been going on. One of the biggest things I've seen is so many people are talking about moving to a higher vibration. Well, here's the thing, or to another dimension. Humans are looking at it going, I'm not happy with the way this is. So get me off this mud ball. Get me someplace else where life will be better. Problem. If humans don't start behaving properly in this dimension, on this vibration, on this planet, how is it ever going to get any better elsewhere? We take these same people and let's move to another planet. There's a brilliant idea. We tried it on Earth here, okay, centuries back. The English Commonwealth took all the problem children and moved them to Australia, to make life better. You notice, the British Isles still have a staggering number of people breaking laws, etc. Okay, this is the thing we've got to realize is no matter where you go, if people are there, the same problems are going to return. When we talk about vibration, when you speed things up, and some of us can do it. Okay, I heard of one individual one day that said, look, I nearly ended up in a accident, and I concentrated really hard and vibrated my whole vehicle, passengers and all, to pass right through an accident that should have happened. Some of us can do that. Most are stuck with the vibratory rate you're born with. However, you can learn to improve it if you're willing to do the work. This is one of the things that we've got to realize is all of these changes are possible if we work at them. But it's got to be done on an individual level. Yeah, no doubt. LA goes, Australia and the American colonies. Yeah, send all your criminals to a colony. What could possibly go wrong? American Revolution might have had something to do with it. If you're not going to educate, it's like, let's take all the criminals, put them into a box, and give them no guidance and no responsibility. I can't see what's going to go wrong there. I can't figure out why the criminal system doesn't have a better return. Now, I remember reading, I don't know if I read about it or heard about it, and I don't know if it's in Arizona or Arkansas. It's got to be Arizona, where there is one prison camp. They follow the law to the letter. Okay, they've got to have shelter. Now remember, we're talking about a desert, so they've got to have shelter. They're given bivouacs, as in tents. Likely not even well-seated ones, but they live in tents. They have to have food, so they're given military rations. Okay, they have to have clothing. Well, they have to have, and they've got to have work, or they've got to have exercise. They work on road gangs. In other words, clearing the ground to put roads in. Okay, also known as, they used to be known as chain gangs. I don't know what they're still called. But then one more issue. They've got to have clothing. So they're given pink jumpsuits. Now, when you take a look at all that, they've got all the things they were supposed to have. Okay, and here's the kicker. They have the lowest repeat crime rate in the country. Why? They don't have padded beds. They don't have television rights. They don't have any option of going on strike. They are taught workable skills. Okay, if you don't have guidance, what you've got is a group of people that are going to learn how to be worse at society than they were when they got in there. Okay, it's very much like we look at the religious people. And again, I'm shifting gears on this one because when you're talking about the energetic behavior of people, we are talking about the vibratory rate. Okay. Oh, the tints are pink too. Bonus. LA goes, yeah, that's Arizona. The tints are pink too. Everything is as pink as the warden can make it. Now, why not take that as a template? It's working. Oh, that's why not do it. You're going to offend somebody. I'm absolutely certain I'm going to. Okay, so we take a look at that. One of the things you have to remember when we talk about people's behavior, some people comment, oh, their behavior is that bad. It's because they got a low vibration, meaning they're thinking about the bad side. They're thinking about how to get ahead while hurting everybody else. LA goes, nobody likes pink after they leave, and nobody wants to stay. And that's just it. Now, I'm lucky. I never liked pink in the first place. Not on me. Okay? But when you take a look at this, you got to remember, if a low vibratory rate is indicative of a problem child, then we have to look at the other side of things. Okay, why keep the vibration low? Well, here's the thing. If you keep people's vibration low enough, if you keep them completely out of sync, okay, and let them feel like there's nothing to what they're doing, okay, they will be far easier to control. Okay, they're not happy with the way their life is, so a little breadcrumb will help them feel better, therefore more productive. At least that would be the theory. Well, here's the thing. There is a nice little side effect to that. And that literally boils down to this. If, as you bring the vibratory rate up, people think faster, they become more creative, more productive, albeit they're harder to control. Because the trick to controlling people like that is not to control them, but to give them a focal point. Okay, and when the other thing about society or any group, okay, any group of people, as it's been told many, many times, the weakest a group is only as strong as the weakest part, as the weakest link. Actually, they usually put it that a chain is only as strong as the weakest link. Now, in a relationship is going to have the same problem. If one person is vibrating lower than the other, okay, than the partner, that is as good as it gets. But if you encourage people to grow, okay, whether you're helping take up the slack for a little bit or you're just encouraging them to organize things, either way, if you're both getting stronger, you are in far better shape and have a much greater chance of success. When we look at vibration is not just the movement of molecules back and forth. It is also an issue of perception. When you can see a faster vibration, you will notice more things around you. This is just one of those issues that we've got to start working on. At least I would suggest we start looking at working on. Now, got to do something here. Again, it's just things getting my attention. Whoops, don't do that. These are just things I got to get to today. Now, you've heard me talk about a list. This is the simplest form of manifestation I know of. Okay, well, not quite. Okay, but it is the most controlled that I'm aware of. Now, when we look at dimensions, you gotta remember, dimensions, people talk about a different dimension where life will be better. I'm telling you that ain't the way it works. Okay, life is only better when you yourself modify your perception or your perceptive capability to see and thereby work towards manifesting a new life. Okay, one without the stress. And the whole catch here from my end is simple. This stream is designed to help people find a way to do that. Okay, now, did I, or I don't think so. Apparently not. Okay, anyway, what we have to remember here is if you're going to change the way your world is working, okay, understanding moving faster or vibrating at a faster rate, understand on a physical level, if you're really, really poor, okay, which many of you are, Lord knows I am. Okay, but I got told a couple of things just last night. Okay, had a very intriguing conversation with a few people. Funny part about it, every one of them was deceased. Okay, but I have been told, again, by those on the other side as well, that what we are doing here is of the utmost importance. Okay, this is one of those things that can be taken all over the place and applied to many different things. But the faster your mind is working, the more energy that you can get unblocked. And that means get rid of the clutter. Okay, the more you do that, the faster your brain is going to work, the faster your life is going to vibrate, and the higher up on the chart, on the scale of personal prosperity, you can rise. But let us understand that when we talk about success, okay, a man is not. How you doing, Joe? Glad you could join us. A man is not judged by the height to which he climbs so much as by the depth from which he has climbed. Now, if that's the case when I become a millionaire, assuming I don't die first. Well, there's a negative thought. Okay, I'm starting at essentially rock bottom. I know this, but I just got guidance yesterday to let go of a few things, and it's complicated to say the least. When we look at the way your life is, okay, think of it this way. If you don't like the clutter in your house, you got one of two options. Either either clear the clutter out, work on the base level, And I would strongly recommend that because it's easier. Okay. Or increase your own personal vibratory rate such that the clutter doesn't apply anymore. Okay. This is just one of those things that we're looking at. And it really boils down to how do we move forward? What is the next step? And this is why I say if you've got questions, absolutely ask. Now, I'm in the middle of putting a number of things together. I was told, get on it, get working. The reality of it is when you're in a low vibratory state, also known, by the way, as depression. Let us not forget, your mind is what sets it in motion. In my case, it's a little more complicated and a little simpler. Okay, I vibrated 3 levels at once. Okay, that's just reality for me. Oh, there we are. I think Joe goes, just got done watching What Dreams May Come. Powerful empath movie starring Robin Williams. Now, I think I saw that one years ago. Okay, but that was a man with a mind and a half. Okay, I first ran into Robin Williams as Mork from Mork and Mindy. Okay, brilliant actor, whole other ballgame. One of the nicest things that we can look at with the vibratory rate is the higher your vibration, the higher your understanding of what's going on, the easier you're going to find it to at least accept the situations other people are going through. You may not be able to relate to them, but as long as you can accept them and see people as equals, what you'll find is society starts to shift gears. Now, I find it fascinating that after such a terrible night the night before, that all of a sudden I had 4 people from, 4 people from my past that have already, 5 people from my past that had already passed away. All of a sudden, I had all kinds of people coming out of the woodwork going, Keith, you're on the right track, but now it's time to make it a reality. Okay, it's time to quit playing around with it. And what we've got happening here is a golden opportunity. As you come to understand, Earth is staying in the 3rd dimension. Sorry, guys, doesn't matter. I mean, you can argue the point. I'm not about to. Okay, but as one wise person put it one day, for those of you that don't believe in God, I suggest you pray you're right. Okay, you don't have to believe in the impact of vibration in your world. Okay, but ask any mechanic what happens if the engine vibrates too much inside an engine, inside a engine compartment, or what happens to glass when you vibrate it too much. Heck, what happens to your skin when you apply vibration to it? Okay, and we can take it on lower grade things, not the least of which is shaken baby syndrome. Okay, anytime something moves faster, it moves into a different state. And if it doesn't all move at the same speed, we're going to have problems. Now, one of the things I will tell you, I'm looking at this and going, okay, how am I going to deal with this? Now, what have I got? Okay. That one's got to be pulled out. Where are we? I'm just making a note, like, This is that list of mine that I work with so I can get things accomplished. Okay, and yes, I do it this way because it works for me. You can get that down there. One of the nice little parts about it is you can argue the point all you'd like about, oh no, Earth is moving to a higher dimension. If the people on Earth do not figure out how to treat each other better in this dimension, you're going to have the same problem all over again. Okay, it's not like you go there without the problem. Okay, it's a question of what you do with it once you get there. Now let me ask you this: are you content with the speed your world is moving in? I know a lot of you look at the whole idea of where your financial world is, and you go, I can't do anything with it. Well, that's the first mistake you're making. Okay. And that is telling yourself you cannot get anywhere. Now, remember I mentioned if I didn't get something turned around within 6 months, I'm likely to be dead. Last night, I got handed the key to turn all around. Yes, I'm going to have to let go of a few things, not the least of which is absolute control over what I'm working with, because frankly, I don't understand it. Okay, of course, there's a lot of things I don't understand. But when we look at the speed this world is vibrating at, some people move very, very slowly. Okay, they are patient beyond belief. Okay, certainly more patient than I am. But I do have that neat little thing called a stubborn streak. When we talk about vibration, we're talking about the speed something is moving. The faster it moves, the harder it is to track. This applies to thinking as well. And here's why. If you're thinking fast, many people, I love when my mouth gets caught up with my thoughts. Quite often, the reason somebody seems to have a high IQ is because they have the neurons in their brain firing fast enough to think quicker and therefore do the necessary calculations. This does not make them better people. It simply makes them faster. Okay, and let's face it, think about driving. Which would you rather? Run into a wall when you're only doing 5 or run into a wall when you're doing 50? Either one is doable. I personally recommend the 5-mile-an-hour impact. You know, the neat part about it is this world is one that we can modify if we work together. Okay? And that's where people seem to be running into a snag. This is why I'm doing what I can. And yes, I'm running into all kinds of hiccups. There's a lot of things that should have come out a long time ago. But remember that whole issue of depression. I don't fight it anymore because I'm no longer in a position to look at it and go, I'm depressed. The reason for it is this. And you may have the same issue. If you take a look at mountains, just for an example, mountains that are 100 miles apart, okay, it's all flatland. When you go across the plains, are you actually seeing yourself in a valley or are you seeing yourselves on the plains? Okay, your walls are way over here. Okay, everything in the middle is a plain. Okay, but if you're in the middle of the plains, in the middle of the prairies, do you see yourself as being in a valley or in a ravine? Or do you see yourself as being on the plains with a few bumps in the middle. This is a matter of perception. If you can take that through your brain and hold on to it, it is possible you'll come to understand that if you're vibrating at a stable rate, that is a stable rate. That is not a depression anymore. And this is why I finally got through my head. I'm not in a depression. This is just the way my reality is. But I'm going to take the whole 9 yards, fill it up piece at a time. And I got looking at it in a reverse fashion from what Dad did. Okay, Dad used to dig wells. But what he would do is he would take a well ring, a concrete ring, and then he'd get inside it and he'd dig under the edge of it and keep moving the dirt out of the way. So he'd let the ring settle. Well, the same thing applies when you're building a tower. Build up a little bit, put more stuff on top, build a little more. This is what LA was suggesting when I mentioned all the little rocks and pebbles and rises in the bottom of the crater. She goes, why not stack them all together? And I got thinking about it, got told that by her on the stream last night, and thank you very much for that, LA. Oh, LA goes, I just remember that depression is anger turned inward. Then I try to figure out what I'm ticked at. Once I figure that out, I have a scream and get on with it. I keep trying to do that, but I'll tell you, if you want to get to the... No, don't do that. I was going to say something, but some genius out there is going to go and try it. So how about if we don't make a stupid suggestion? Because somebody's going to follow it. Okay. I just thoroughly enjoy, every once in a while you go to darwinawards.com. They have some brilliant issues going on there. I wonder if I can do that. Where are we? darwinawards.com. I apparently wrote that wrong. Oh, that's because I got an X in there, Dip. There we go. I just called it up here. I could go into it, but here's the thing. Okay, one of the biggest things we got to look at is when you compare everything around you, go, oh, they're doing so much better than you. This is going to make you see the world in a negative light, almost guaranteed. Okay, when you start looking at your own life and go, I'm no longer content. Okay, then you make a change in things. Okay, all of a sudden you've got a neat little situation on your hands. You start building yourself up. And like my son told me last night, I talked to him about them before I came on stream about this issue of I felt like I was in the bottom of a crater and there were these little piles I could climb on, but I still couldn't get out. He never missed a beat. He looks at me and goes, but Dad, if you get on top of those stands, you can reach down and help somebody else up. Okay, when we're talking about vibratory rate, this is the same thing. If you're feeling really good about your life and you compare what you've eliminated or what you've altered by sharing this idea with other people, you can help them do the exact same thing. Okay. I got a phone here that's going to die sooner or later. You've got the ability to do exactly the same thing. And that simply means look at the speed you're thinking. Okay, you may not. let's say you're having trouble with mathematics. Okay. And I will tell you, I don't think. No, I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to you about that afterwards, LA. The dream I had last night was mind-boggling. I think I know exactly what it was referring to though. But one of the things we have to realize, mathematics is simple. Okay. We work with base 10 because we've only got 10 fingers. Well, 4 fingers, 2 thumbs. Of course, my problem is they built that way. Okay. And that has gone back to being normal. This hand is slowly starting to sort itself out where I don't have to worry about it. I ran into a lot of troubles when I had the stroke. But I've now come to understand a couple of things very important. Okay. When we're looking at dimensions, dimensions are not an issue of getting out of it. How's it going there, Storm? Glad you could drop in. Yo, things are getting better. Yo, I can tell you, we look at the world and go, it's falling apart. We could dwell on that if we'd like, but I'm thinking that's a bad thing to dwell on. Yo, when we look at the dimensional thing, sorry guys, everything you pick up, everything you can register in the third dimension is third dimensional. Okay. When we take a look at other dimensions or we talk about them, I hear all kinds of people going, oh, there's countless dimensions. You know, this is frankly, from what I've come to gather, incorrect. Okay. So now do not get me wrong. Somebody may be able to prove there are more. If they do, this is great. But 12 seems to work extremely well. And yes, I did actually get started on putting that all into a book. Plus, of course, the other ones. I got so much on the go, and it's sometimes hard to keep organized. Okay, but this is the whole catch. The faster your brain works, and the more in sync your head and your heart are, the more likely you are to attain your spiritual goals. This is not a question of moving to another dimension. Okay, Earth is remaining on the third dimension, but people are evolving. And as you come to realize that, as people come to realize that working with each other makes things work so much more smoothly if we are on equal ground. In other words, regardless of who you are, this is what you've got to do. Okay, I don't tell people if you're living on the street, don't worry about smiling with people because your life is miserable. I tell them point blank, here's what you can do. And it's going to take a lot of work. Society is designed, literally, the people in charge, the people we have put in charge, have turned around and made life almost unbearable for many people. But what would you do if I told you we could take all of that and turn it around if we do one little detail? Just one. Okay, here is a virtually infallible method of changing the way your mind is thinking and what you're focusing on. Every time you watch something of a negative nature, okay, make certain whether you're watching it, reading it, listening to it, doesn't matter. Okay, every time you listen to one, okay, go and make certain you experience 2 positive things, 2 things that make you feel better. Okay, the first one is saying because you're going through life and you have your first negative. So you drop. Okay, so now you're feeling worse. So you carry on. Now, immediately we start there, you're already down. The first experience of a positive nature you have brings you back up to level. This is good. But when we experience a second one, it climbs a little higher. Now you're on the upswing. Okay, and taking a look at that, we all know it feels like we're going around in circles all the time. Okay, but with that in mind, well, I will tell you, Joe, dream interpretation will certainly help. But the key to it is once you understand the dream, act on the positive side of it. Okay, this is absolutely critical. Now, I ran a game today. I've started running my own D&D campaign for the first time in 6 years. But, see this neat little guy here? Okay, this in D&D is called a roper. But you see these little mounds here? I came up with an idea so that first level characters could run into a roper. I took a look at the stats on the roper in D&D, and I literally thought about it, and again, the more you think, the higher your vibrational rate gets. The higher it gets, the faster you think, the more positive things you can make happen. So I turned around and took this little guy and went, okay, how do I take this and let first level characters fight with one of these? These guys are no fun. Okay, they are no fun. They'll kill you at first level. So I took the idea and went, okay, these guys don't start off at 8 feet tall. So these little guys are looking at this. Wait, if I take a look at those and go, those are baby ropers. Okay, and I start working with that, downsize their hit dice and what have you, and all of a sudden, I've got a new character I can work with. And I do believe, I forget what it is offhand, but I'm taking figures like this to write with. When we look at vibration, the faster you think, the higher your vibratory rate gets. Okay, and eventually what happens is, and again, we can compare it to the finances. You know, LA is just going. I agree. We come in with many of the answers we require, and our soul map. We're equipped to succeed. We are, but as adult humans coming to the picture, they have literally set out like their fathers and mothers before them. They have set out to teach you how to doubt yourself, how to fear getting to the top. Because, in most cases, they are looking at it going, if I show you how to get to the top, you'll treat me like garbage. Well, the reality is, a lot of the people that are already up here already treat the people in lower positions like garbage. Okay, and that's a problem. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to take a half a moment break and I'll be right back. And we are back. Yeah, I know. I got COVID and they're telling me I'm diabetic and I should watch my sugar intake. So I make sure I cut it down to only one bottle a day. No, that's not entirely correct. But, yeah, seventh inning stretch. You know, I get a kick out of it. They call it the seventh inning stretch. I don't know. Every time I do watch baseball, and once in a while it's on the TV, so I end up seeing it. But I see the athletes stretching regularly. As you've seen, I get up and move about a whole pile. Okay. And the reason for that is if you are sitting sedentary, your vibratory rate will slow down. It's just that way. You know, and what we've got to realize is it boils down to this. Take a look at a helicopter, okay, and look at the speed. It goes around slowly. The thing stays on the ground. Spin it faster and faster, increase the vibratory rate or the cyclic rate. It will go up, okay? It will rise. This is a simple matter, and it's the same thing with molecules. Move them faster and faster, they rise, okay? When you're looking at changing your world, think about what you desire. And I don't mean, what would you like to see in the future? Do you desire a big mansion? Who knows? Okay. I'm sitting in my house, in my apartment, and I'm going, I'm not content with the way it's flowing. So I've been fighting to figure out how over the last 3 days. Okay. I over the last 3 days I have found a number of keys. And one of the things I did discover was literally that the faster your brain is working and the faster you act on it. In other words, take procrastination and put it aside. Okay? Because I will tell you, procrastination has never accomplished anything in a hurry. Okay, when you start looking at a spiritual path, let me ask you this: whether it is church, whether it's a temple, a synagogue, a enclave, whatever you're looking to for a spiritual guide, do you leave that gathering feeling more energized, more encouraged? Okay, or do you feel like you've had the wind kicked out of your sails? Okay, this is the thing we have to look at. And the way vibration works, okay, when you vibrate something fast enough, it will break barriers. Okay, but if as you're increasing that vibratory rate, as the vibration expands, you educate the people around you, share your experiences with them, you will be able to increase, you'll be able to stabilize all of that and raise the whole platform. This is what we are aiming at doing here. Okay, enough of the looking at what went wrong. How bad is the world going to get? Enough of that. It's not doing us any good, is it? Now, do understand something rather important. When we're looking at watching things negative, if it's put on the TV, and I mean literally anything put on the TV, if it makes you feel better, watch it. I like action movies. Okay, I love them on the TV, as in watching the action, watching martial arts, watching gunfights, that sort of thing on the TV. This is a form of distraction. But do I like seeing people get shot in real life? Not at all. Well, I was asking, asking me, do I ever wish I didn't have empathic abilities? Absolutely. For me, they were an absolute nightmare growing up. Okay. But, you know, but from that standpoint, at this point in time, would I give them back? No. Even the worst setback, there is a way of finding something positive about it. If it weren't for my empathic capacity, I would not be able to connect with as many people as I can and see where I can help the ones that desire it. That desire the assistance. But you got to remember, all I can do, and this is a hard one for me, is realize that type of connection, all I can do is turn the lights on. I like the way Elaine put this. She goes, I believe in mother and father, so I am polytheistic. That falls under paganism. One of the biggest drawbacks of empathy that I've run into is too much of that kind of emotion. Like, I can be very stable on my own, but I get around a whole bunch of people that are absolutely in tears or absolutely hurt. Okay, it can be overwhelming and screw up my own thinking. Okay, now that's a negative. Conversely, I put myself around all kinds of people that are laughing. I find that hard to do on occasion, quite a frequent occasion. When you can reach out and touch and feel that laughter, it will, by its very nature, bring your emotion and bring your own vibratory rate, your own feelings up. This is why I recommend, when you're feeling down, find the fastest dance-paced music you can get. Okay? Turn it on as loud as socially acceptable and let it run. Oddly enough, people go, oh, I like rock and roll. I like heavy metal. I like country. I like, classical. Okay. I look at it. Now, let me ask you this. What is the one universal song that affects everybody I know of, aside from extreme cases, in a positive fashion? It will make everybody's spirits rise. Okay, here it is overall. The number one sound of music: laughter. Okay, if you don't believe me, find a laugh track of Little Munchkins. Okay, find a laugh track with a bunch of little munchkins laughing their heads off. I'm talking the ones in diapers, or the diapers to 1 year old. Okay, LA's giving us a nice little piece of information. The Essenes were Jewish and believed in both mother and father. It is thought that Jesus was likely an Essene because of his teachings. Now, for me to comment one way or the other on that, I'd actually have to look into what the Essene were. Okay, I do know that Yeshua was not, well, technically he was Christian in as much as he believed in God and in Christ. Can't imagine why he believed in Christ. It's kind of like me believing in me. I still think I'm completely off my nut, by the way. But when you take a look at, when you're looking to raise your vibratory rate, and that simply means help your body, your soul, and your body feel lighter. Okay, make it vibrate at a faster rate so you feel better. Oh, there we go. Ellie goes, it's a sect of Judaism. Now, And that I've read up on. I just haven't broken it down. I could go down a really, really sidetrack path there and get us shut right down in a heartbeat. So, that said, there are certain topics I don't go into in a lot of depth here. When we look at the vibratory rate of things, if whatever belief structure you're following, whatever career you're following, if it makes you feel better and does not hurt anybody else, okay, if you're doing things in a rational fashion, rational being, you're being true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you, and energy out, energy in. If you follow those three laws, and you're not deliberately hurting other people, frankly, you're on the right track. Now, this is going to sound completely off kilter. Okay, when we take a look at what they call the oldest profession on the planet, the oldest one in existence, they call it street working. Right, the street, they call it a whole lot of other things, but is it really a bad thing? Now, do not get me wrong. I don't personally utilize it, but think about it. If you take a look at that profession, okay, many of them, and these are the only ones I recommend do it. Many have such a high drive, they've got to do that sort of thing. Okay, so they're making a living at it and helping other people out by making them feel better, given that they are doing things in an appropriate fashion, i.e., adult to adult, and when they are not, when nobody's attached to anybody else. Yeah, LA goes, they weren't considered by their peers in good light. They were empaths, seers, prophets, and didn't like the Romans one little bit. Well, you got to remember, and I was a Roman. Okay, a number of times. That turned out well. Okay, but you got to remember, the Romans were trapped in the materialistic world. Okay, do things my way. Everything has to be, the Romans, if I recall correctly, were the ones that designed taxes. Okay, and then decided they didn't have to pay them because they had too much money. But even in Rome itself had seers. Okay, Christians had seers. The Jewish people had seers. So did the Buddhists and the Sikhs. All of them had seers. All of them still do. One of the best trained tarot readers I ever met was taught in the Vatican. Now, a higher vibratory rate literally means you learn to accept all of these other aspects as part and parcel of the whole. Okay, now let me ask you this. If you had the capacity, okay, would you, as an individual, alter the path you're currently on? And if you don't have the capacity to do it yet, do you have any idea where to get the education for it? These are just some of the things we're looking at. And you got to realize we're not talking about changing your life to get to another dimension. That comes way down the road. Now, I know people tell me that, we're dealing with, when we're talking about the dimensional barriers, okay, first things first, you cannot move from a third dimensional existence into fourth dimension without getting torn to pieces. Okay? Same as you can't come from a fourth dimension to a third dimension. What happens? Because people are going, well, what about ghosts? They're not third dimensional. Yes, they are. But they are vibrating at a higher rate than the rest of people, thereby able to pass through them. This is just the reality of it. Oh, just a quick question for you. And I do believe that they'll know who it was. There was somebody I was talking to the other day. Okay. And this applies to any one of you. If you have ever felt, if you've ever had a ghost go through you, okay, or had a physical object pass through your body, did you, in your opinion, feel like you had some sort of an electrical or a static field, shock, if you will, travel through your body at that point? Oh, there we go. LA goes, it's really interesting. It's a really interesting part of early Christianity. By the way, I've studied this era extensively. Yeah, my problem is I didn't study it, I lived it. But I don't know if that's a problem. Not entirely certain that's a problem, but it has caused some interesting conflicts. One of the biggest things that we have to look at, if you're not content with where your life is, it is time to start shifting gears. Where are we? I just want to hit refresh here just because I'm nosy. That's just refreshing my feed to make sure that everything's up to date here. And would you look at that? We picked up a new subscriber today. We are now up to 642. One step closer to that 1,000 mark we're aiming for in the long run. But right now, I'm looking at 650. Okay, like I said, the number itself is not the critical factor, except 2,000 years ago, one person collected 12, 13 people around him that said, hey, I think it's time we start working together. Let's just do this weird thing. Let's be nice to each other. Okay, let's take the people that are having a hard time and lift them up a little. And I do my best to stay up on top of things. But in case you hadn't noticed, I rely and really count on the support I get from the people in here to help bring the vibratory rate up. Yeah, I pulled a stunt in mind. The reason I ask LA is I pulled a stunt today during my gaming session where somebody turned etheric and they passed through a physical body. Okay, well, because I'm combining reality and the gaming world, I electrocuted the poor guy. He was ticked. We're talking a full adult playing an imaginary game. Okay, Dungeons and Dragons is a game of the mind. Oddly enough, I can liken that to what we are taught in many of the educational systems. It's a head game. Okay, and boy, did he get ticked. Because all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm supposed to be able to get out. I'm supposed to be able to be God. Thanks for playing. Worked out really well from my standpoint, but I am looking for ways to link the whole 9 yards together. And the thing I have found is the more that you can expand your mind, the more that you can increase the intake, the better off you are. Yeah. LA goes, some spirits think it's funny. It's not. Yeah, it's kind of like pranking in my eyes. Oh, let's shock that person. Let's not. And let's not say we did, because, well, that's lying. Well, before you jump on that one there, LA, that's the last of the Coke for tonight. But I will get something else to eat when I get done with this. Don't know what it'll be yet, but it'll be something. The thing is, by working together, by starting to let people know, look, we're not going away. We're not going to bother with this idea of, oh, all the politics is garbage. Look at all the war around the world. How about not? Okay, let's not focus on all the crime that's going on, because all of the negative things, the things that make you feel bad, why put the effort into watching them? Okay, what's the purpose? I know I don't like feeling bad. This is why I don't put my hand in the door frame and close the door time and again. I don't like the pain. Okay, that's just the reality of it. Yeah, absolutely, LA. LA goes, I've heard it called scalping. Ghosts I've talked to have done it and get an energy boost from it. Absolutely. Okay, I know people that can do it. And put your hands up if you've ever been able to deliberately or instinctively pull energy to boost yourself. Okay, many people on negative ilk call it an energy vampire. Goats will do that quite regularly. It's a way of feeding. Take technology up to a new level, and we have the scoop engines on the starships. They will come into a gas giant, scoop up some of the material, and carry on, refueling on the fly. Of course, you get into trouble when you spin upside down and dive into the gas giant. Then you're usually in trouble for a very short period of time. But the higher your vibrational rate goes, the better off you are. The better you're going to feel, the more energy you're going to have, the more restful sleep you're going to have. These are all side effects of an increased vibratory rate. Now, the thing is, when you get to the next dimension, you got the same process all over again. But the level of vibration, okay, I will get to that in 10 seconds there, Will. The level of vibration applies on every front. Okay. Woo's going, oh, wow. Okay. LA. Not LA, sorry. Woo. Let me put it this way. Okay. Um, Wu is asking, please tell me why people say reincarnation is real if there are ghosts. I just don't get it. I've also seen ghosts numerous times. Well, here's the thing. Do you believe in pedestrians? Okay, understand the physical body is a vehicle. Okay, if you believe in pedestrians, okay, we got lots of cars around. When a car breaks down, the driver gets out of the car and walks around for a while. Okay, the cars are still real, the people are still real. Okay, when you are taking a look at when you're taking a look at a ghost, the physical body, the person's body dies, the physical body or the spirit gets out of it, and now it travels until it finds a new body. When it finds a new body, it steps into the body. That is the point of reincarnation. The ghosts are still in and of themselves. And as LA has put it, you're comparing different entities. Ghosts haven't reincarnated. Okay. But that's because they just haven't found a new vehicle. The reincarnation is actually an issue of the physical body it's inhabiting, not the soul, not the driver. It's a different vibratory rate. Okay. And that being said, well, I'm going to do this. You know, you really timed that well. Give me half a minute. Right now we are on the 20th. Okay. You got this neat little question. How is it? Okay. We are going to deal with, I was looking for something for tomorrow. Woo, you did a really nice thing for me here. And Storm, let us take a look tomorrow at reincarnation, the mechanics behind it. Okay. Nicely done there, Woo. Tomorrow, as in on the 21st, okay, oddly enough, September 21st is the first day of fall. Okay, we will take a look at the mechanics of reincarnation. Okay, and help everybody understand how reincarnation works, why it works, what it is. Okay, thank you so much, Storm. I was looking for topics for tomorrow, and I was going to have to pick one anyway. So you timed that beautifully, Woo. Now I just have to get one picked for Tuesday. Still working on that. But we'll deal with that one in detail tomorrow. Where we are talking about vibration, yes, by the way, vibration and reincarnation really boil down to the same thing. Oh, ghosts. Yeah, ghosts usually ghost because the individual hasn't straightened out the previous life. I believe they need to deal with the universe before they can either stay there or reincarnate. And ghosts are another issue altogether. You know, that's not a bad idea. NLA, why don't we do that? Storm, how about we'll deal with reincarnation tomorrow, but let's deal with ghosts, the mechanics behind them. Okay, I figure why not? And no, before anybody comes up with a brilliant idea, oh, we're going to look at the most famous ghosts in history. No, we're not. Okay, because to me, as the song by Miranda Lambert puts it, everyone, what is it here? Not everyone's a hero. How do they put it? How does she put it? Oh, everyone's a star in a small town. Okay, meaning that every individual is important. None are more important than the rest. Okay, I talk to ghosts all the time. It just so happens the conversation I had last night was phenomenal with the idea. Yeah, I never even thought about that. We're on the 20th. That'll be on the 21st, on the 22nd. We're only a few days away from Halloween. Why not look at ghosts? We can probably find a couple other things to look at there as well, down the same road. But these are topics that are hot on the line. So we may as well start going down that road. Okay, we'll figure something out for next week. Come to think of it, 21st, 22nd. By George, would you look at that? We really are getting very close to Halloween, aren't we? When we are talking about the vibratory rate of things, we are talking about the way that your life is running. Are you slowing yourself down so you don't get ahead of other people, so you can keep close to the friends you've got right now? I'm telling you, I have made some pretty serious mistakes. Okay, where I've had connections with people where I thought they were solid. Turns out they didn't mean half as much to them as they did to me. I finally come to terms with this and gone, okay, I'll reach out to people, but it's going to be two-way from here on out, or it's not going to happen. Now, I will tell you, for those of you that have tried reaching out to me, understand something very critical. Okay, first and foremost, I have way too much on the go. So, if you're planning on catching me by cell, okay, very necessary. It is hit and miss whether I will be answering an unknown call because I get so many people that go, "Oh, we really would like to get to know you." Understand, I am currently very well attached to my other half. I've got no interest in finding another partner, and I'm certainly not interested in open relationships. Okay, the other thing is there is a lot of stuff that can happen. Okay, if you're striving to get ahead, if you're striving to change the direction your life is on, absolutely contact me. If you go to the link at the top of the stream at buymeacoffee.com/inner voice J, you'll find all the links to every book I've got in print, my consulting, the simple support area to just straight buy me a coffee. Okay, all of these things are right there. And I will tell you right now, with the way finances are, I gotta do something. But, and thank you for the update there, LA. Okay, we are now starting to get underway very nicely. You know, we are going to get on track very nicely. As we can see, things are shifting gears here. Just do this again just because I was absolutely caught off guard there. You know, when we look at vibratory rate, like I said, dimensions that I'm aware of, there are only 12. Okay, this is covered in the numerological configurations we were talking about the other day, and they are subsequently being put into a book format, okay, or booklet format, okay, but dimensions we're only looking at 12, but you got to complete your journey here on the third before you can get to the others. Now, the people in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensions, etc., all have to do the exact same thing. Okay, they've got to collect all that information together, and then they don't have to go, okay, I understand the fourth dimension, now I've got to get to the fifth. This is not the way it works. You can go from the third dimension, you can spend a very long time in the seventh dimension. Okay, you don't even have to get it all sorted out, but then sort out the seventh dimension, collect all that, then you can go to the 12th, the second, whatever order. The key is you got to get to each of those 12 dimensions and collect all that information together. Then, and only then, do you get to move to the next dimension. But that's an individual thing. And rest assured, Esau, who you know as Earth, Mother Nature, Gaia, there might be a few other names. Okay, I know her as Esau. She is not ready to move to the fifth dimension. Okay, she is a third dimensional entity. So that's where we have the dimension. But with vibratory rate. Okay, the vibratory rate is another issue altogether. That is the speed things move. Okay, and if you vibrate something fast enough, you can literally wink out of existence because you vibrate so fast, other people can no longer see you. Now, jumping sideways here for half a moment, in Dungeons and Dragons, there's a spell called Dimension Door. Okay, this is the ability, they use that term to refer to moving through a physical door to another location. Oh, Lord, yeah, LA very much. And this is why I do agree. LA is going, so much of these concepts are very complex. This is why I do agree with the idea of let's tear them down to quantifiable evidence. Okay, to a quantifiable, hopefully easily understood rendition of what is going on. I was once told that unless you can explain something in simple terms, you don't know it well enough. So what we are going to do, and it opens a whole pile of doors regarding other senses that we can work with. Okay, other belief structures, other abilities, you name the topic. It's time to start breaking these things down. Okay, enough of the idea of let's talk about, oh, how about if we talk about a star drive when you don't even know what a star is? Okay, how about if we talk about, okay, like tomorrow, everybody talks about reincarnation. What is it? What is vibratory rate? Well, the vibratory rate is the speed things are moving. Okay, it's not necessarily physical speed, but the speed of comprehension. How quick can you grasp the concept? Myself, I'm completely hooked so far, but I will figure it out. I've decided I've got to start paying attention to that one really annoying thing called politics and figure out where things are standing. I have neglected it for a very long time, and because I did that, our last election, I helped put the wrong person, in my opinion, I put the wrong person in office. Helped. Okay, I can't do anything about that. And politely put, in simplest terms, he did the best he could with what he had. Okay, I'm not dumb enough to put him back there. Okay, I'm just not. Not in my opinion. Okay, but we gotta remember the issue around this whole concept. If you don't know what the questions are, how are you going to ask them? So when we deal with the vibratory rate, we are talking about the speed of transition, whether it's physical movement, mental comprehension, or simply being able to do mathematics. Okay, there was an old saying when I was in school that it was what they called the KISS method. Okay, now the way I was taught it was keep it simple, stupid. Okay, I changed that. Keep it simple, silly. Okay, because I do find, yes, I've referred to a lot of people as idiots. Absolutely, I have. I got a vocal temper that is just absolutely uncontrolled, primarily because I forgot how to. Okay, but it is time to start drawing people in to answer these simple questions and to point out where the hiccups are, where they may be getting off track. Okay, I am not the best of the best. Heck, I'm barely functional as an individual. You know, but the reality of it is that this is where my life is heading. Well, there we go. This is the thing that when I said I was going to build a healing center, this is where the education starts. Okay. Hey, look, I'm a conductor. Don't bet on it. Okay. I can carry a tune. There's no problem. I take a tape recorder and I carry it. I can carry a tune. But when I look at the way the world is, people are not changing because nobody told them how. It's time we actually do that. But I am going to be danged if I'm going to sit here and say, this is what you gotta do if you're going to change your life, and might not do the same dang thing. Okay? So we're going to go and find out. And absolutely, guys, with this in mind, what other topics, what other things do you feel you're missing some of the information for? There's probably a lot of them. Okay, but at least it gives us a direction to head in. Okay, where we can actually work together to make this a better world for virtually everybody. There's a massive misconception out there, in my eyes, and I do believe it's a terminology thing, between whether we are talking different dimensions or different vibratory rates. Most of the change, most of the difference, frankly, in my experience, is the vibratory rate. That is simply the speed of transition. Okay? Because even in all 12 dimensions, all of them, the vibratory rate in those dimensions still applies the same way. You know, this is just the reality behind life. It's time we, as a society, bypass the whole idea of, oh, it's the government, they'll tell us when we can think. Sorry, I don't buy that one. Okay, I'm betting dollars to donuts that every one of you doesn't wait for your congressman or for the local alderman or whatever it is, or even your local priest to tell you when to put your shoes on or when to put your glasses on if you require them. I'm betting you make those decisions for yourself. You also make the decision as to what you're going to listen to on the YouTube, on any of the social media, or what you're going to post. Okay, you also make the decision of what you're having for dinner. I'm betting dollars to donuts. The massive majority of you do not wait for somebody else to decide. Okay, even little children don't wait for their parents to say, hey, by the way, you're hungry. Okay, we figured this out. Now, as it turns out, we're at the 5-minute mark. So I want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us today. We will be dealing with the mechanics behind reincarnation tomorrow and the mechanics behind ghosts on Tuesday. That said, thanks so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. We will be back again tomorrow. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes,